GLoLady. I am over here at Kilwin's, and I grew up in Hershey, Pennsylvania, so I know chocolate. But what we're going to learn today is how do you make fudge? So get ready, and Lisa over here is going to show us how to make fudge.
Sure. So right now I am just cooking the fudge. I put together some water and some cream and a whole bunch of sugar and some chocolate. And this is going to be a chocolate English walnut fudge. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook it up to a certain temperature and then pour it out on this table that's right next to me. And then I'm going to let it cool down to about 100 degrees until I start paddling it. And what the paddling does is it makes it real creamy. It pulverizes all the sugar crystals in it. If you've ever had any fudge that's crunchy or grainy, it's because the sugar crystals have started forming. And so we paddle it to get rid of those sugar crystals so it's real creamy. And we're true perfectionists with our fudge. It's very finicky. And all the fudges that we have a different temperature that they go to. So this one's about to go to 232 degrees Fahrenheit. And every fudge is maybe 230 or 234 or something. And it all depends on the humidity or the temperature outside or whether the fudge feels like being rude that day or not. So it's a ever-evolving process. It's quite fun. I'm cooking a fudge over a gas stove, and there's this thermometer right here that's hanging in the middle. That's a really accurate thermometer. Shows down to 0.1 degree Fahrenheit accuracy. And what I'm doing with the spatula here is I'm sort of scraping the sides so that the sugar crystals don't crystallize up the sides, which would also make the fudge real grainy. And just keep stirring it so it doesn't burn to the bottom, you know? So right now, I'm just stirring the fudge. It's supposed to cook. It's supposed to cook up to 232 degrees, and I stopped it at 230 right now, and I'm just stirring it to try and get it up to 232, but I turned off the stove. Okay. So, I'm just trying to get the fudge up to a certain temperature right before I can put in the butter. And fudge is real finicky about exactly when you put it in the butter, and that is what stops it from rising. There we go. Keep it down. Out. Nope, nope, don't go too high. Feel it? I'm gonna have to recook it. Just put in a little bit of extra water and cook it back up. Sure. I stopped the stove, I turned off the stove at a certain temperature, and I'm letting it rise just a little bit more before I can take out the thermometer and pour it onto this table. This table next to me is a marble table, so it's going to pull out the heat from the fudge and let it cool really nicely. It's real finicky about exactly which temperature it goes to. So. Can we get on that side? Yep. So I've been working here at Kilwin's about a year now, and I got brought into the kitchen about 3 months after I started working here. And I started doing chocolates and then slowly worked my way into being able to cook the fudge and the caramel and all the caramel corns. And it's a really fun process. Seriously, what kind of grown-up gets to make fudge and chocolates all day long? It's pretty much the best job ever. And I love it. And I love making the fudge, and I think that that shows a lot. Like, we put a lot of love into our fudge and our candy here. And it's really nice to be able to see people's faces light up when they walk into the store. People just walk in, and their whole world changes because they've never seen such a place filled with so much happiness. It's just anyone who likes sugar or anything sweet or happiness in general will like Kilwin's. So right now we're hanging out, just waiting for the fudge to cool. I poured out a batch of chocolate English walnut fudge onto this table in front of me, and it's cooling down to a certain temperature. I put some vanilla on the top to give it some flavoring, and in a minute I'm going to mix that in. It's a real interesting process and really fun to watch. If anyone ever comes in when we're making fudge, they just stand there and stare for a while. And whenever we finish, we have fresh samples of the fudge. And in my opinion, there's just nothing better than fudge fresh off the table. It just melts in your mouth, and it's real creamy. So Marcy just brought out some fudge samples to the trolley out there. We give out fudge samples to all the trolley tours that come by, and they love it. They just clap. They're so happy. I mean, who wouldn't want a free fudge sample when they're riding a trolley on a tour of Asheville? So I am an Asheville native, and I went away to college and went to Massachusetts, and I came back about a year ago when I moved back here, and was just walking around town one of my first days into town, and walked into Kilwin's as another place that I was looking to find a job, and I just loved it. It was so much fun. And Marcy, the owner, just happened to be here when I came in, and we just talked for a while, and she called me up about half an hour after I had left and offered me the job. I was so excited. And I moved back into town mostly because of the theater community here, actually. I majored in geology at school, but I realized how much I love theater and how much I love acting, and this is a great place for that. It's not New York, and that was a reason why I came here, because New York is just too big, and I really like the small theater community, the small group of people who do what they love. And I think it's that passion that really drives people here that doesn't exist in a lot of other places. And that passion exists in a lot of things here in Asheville, making the fudge, for instance. And it's just quite a lot of fun. Life is fun, but I think it's probably about time for me to paddle the fudge. So I'm going to set down this microphone and go do that.
Right now, Lisa is removing the aluminum bars, and you see the fudge is kind of staying put, which means it's cooled down enough that it's ready to just kind of go like that, and she'll take over.
So right now I'm starting to paddle the fudge, and this really mixes it up and pulverizes the sugar crystals, makes it real creamy. So essentially, I'm just going to go around the table like this for maybe about 15 minutes, depending upon the type of fudge. And it's a real workout, if you can tell. So I make it look easier than it is, but it's definitely a workout. This is probably about 15, 16 pounds right now. And then I'm going to add in another 2 pounds of walnuts. So it's pretty hefty. I'm actually going to add in walnuts right now. Make a beautiful chocolate English walnut fudge. One of our most popular. People love nuts in fudge. I'm not quite sure why. It's not my personal preference, but for some reason, people adore nuts in fudge. Nuts in general. people in Asheville might love nuts more than usual. that was a pun. That's a joke. So, just gotta really get it mixed in here. And I'm gonna keep doing this until it starts to set up, which is when it'll start to harden. You'll see some of the shine go out of it. It's real shiny right now, and it will just start to harden up a little bit. So every one of our fudges has its own specific personality. It gets cooked to a different temperature, it gets paddled in a different way. Depends on what goes into it, what temperature it is outside, what the humidity is. Really, every fudge is its own creature. It takes a lot of care and work when you really do it right. You can tell I'm being with it. I'll start it and see if it's doing the right thing. Now what I'm doing is loafing the fudge. I'm putting it into a nice, beautiful shape so that it can go into the cases. This is truly an art form. It took me the longest to learn this part of making the fudge. Everyone's got their own special style, their own special way of doing it. This might be the last pass that I got to do on it. You gotta be real careful to do it right up until the point where it's still shiny, but hard enough to stay in place. See, it's just starting to set up a little too much. And that's fine.
Consistency. Great flavor. I think she did well. That's a perfect fudge. Perfect fudge. That's why our fudge makers are professionals. They are truly professionals in their craft. And it's a craft that takes a long time to learn, and it takes a lot of finesse, and they do it so beautifully. It's just great. You know, it's so different than anything else as far as cooking.
So what we've got right here are chocolate dipping machines. And we've got milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and white chocolate that we dip pretty much everything in the store in. Pretty much everything delicious we dip in chocolate and make it more delicious. The system is that it's a big bowl, and then in the back you put in chunks of chocolate that, as the bowl spins, melt, and it brings it down and keeps it to a certain temperature, because it needs to be at a certain temperature or else the chocolate will bloom or it'll be too hard. And blooming means that sort of a white filmy texture will come on top of the chocolate, and it'll be ugly and a slightly weird texture, and that's definitely not what we want. We want our chocolates perfect. We strive for perfection. So these are the trays that we put the fudge out on in the cases, and I'm just going to spray it to make sure that the fudge doesn't stick much to it when I slice it up and put it out on the trays for display. It's funny how difficult it is to put on gloves when your hands are wet. Ready? So I am just slicing off the butt end of this fudge, because we don't use that for display. And I'm going to wrap it up and put it over in our little bin for trolley fudge samples when we bring the fudge samples out to the trolley. Now comes what I find to be the most difficult part of making a fudge, is slicing it up and making sure that each one of those slices is actually a half a pound. It's so difficult. Some people can do it so easily, but it requires perfection. There's my first try. That's pretty close. That's my scale, and the length that this fudge is on is 1.19 pounds, so 1.64, not too far off. Pretty good. So coordinated and graceful. That's why I'm a dancer. That's what happens when you don't make your fudges perfect.
Oh, it's beautiful! This is a beautiful fudge.
Except for, I mean, you know, it's not shiny enough.
Oh, it's fine.
It's a little thin right there.
It's fine.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Just chocolate.
to dip one of our many wonderful products into the chocolate. These are marshmallows on a stick. We call them our puffs. Real simple. And this is our white chocolate. So I'm just going to dip it, twirl it around, shake it off a little more. You got to make sure the chocolate doesn't just pour all over the place when you pull it out. And you need the right ratio of chocolate to marshmallow. So then I can pull it out. And this is our sprinkle tray. This is probably the worst thing in the world to drop on the floor. You don't want to drop the sprinkle tray on the floor because you will have millions of miniature little balls everywhere that you can't clean up. But there you go. There's a puff. We did pretty much everything you could possibly imagine in chocolate. Well, everything delicious. Everything from graham crackers to marshmallows to the ultimate confection, a chocolate dipped Twinkie. Is that a look of surprise I saw? I know, a chocolate dipped Twinkie. It's a little hefty. You might want to not eat it all in one sitting, but it's real good.
I am making homemade or handmade waffle cones. And the trick to waffle cones is not burning your fingers. I've got 2 machines going at once. So we just put a little batter on, close it up, put the timer on, and this one's going to be ready in just a minute. Actually, just a second. That's the first one on. The first one on is usually just because we've got the spray on there. So that's usually just a test one. Now, get that on there. Sometimes I feel like going back and forth, back and forth. But it's the best way to produce a lot of waffle cones in a short period of time. So we've got our batter, we've got our holder, we've got bowls to make waffle bowls, and we've got our equipment. Just want to keep it nice and clean as we're going. Make sure that we've got a nice round waffle cone that comes off of the waffle iron. And here we go. What I usually do is go like this just to cool it off just a little bit. And then you just got to roll it up. There's several different methods of doing this. But the other thing you want to do is make sure that you can't see through the waffle cone, because otherwise you're going to get drips from your ice cream. So you just make sure there's another one going. Kind of like juggling after a while. There we go. Wrap it up, roll it up, make sure it doesn't. See, now that's hot. And you can do this all day long and make lots and lots of waffle cones. They're delicious, especially right off the waffle iron. You know, if you want to taste it, very good. Luscious, luscious waffle cones. That's basically it. See now, I'm going to put another one on here. Then I'm going to wash my hands real quick. We want to be very sanitary when we're making our waffle cones. Clean hands. See how this overrun here? We want to make sure we get that off of it so that we don't have little nubs on our waffle cones, because that wouldn't be as attractive. These have very tiny little nubs, but they're okay. So we've got another one here. Pull it up, roll it up. I thought we should have contests to see who can roll up a waffle cone fastest. And voila! There you go. Fresh waffle cones. There goes another one. Actually, it was one of our staff that showed me the moving it back and forth trick so that there's a less opportunity to get a little hot on your hands. And we just keep lining them up. And what happens is they set, and they get real crunchy. So they come off and they're very pliable, but then in a very, very short time, which is why you have to do it really fast, they'll get crunchy. Where they actually, I'll show you on this one. So you get just kind of crunches. But that's what you want. You want your waffle cone to be nice and crunchy and delicious. And there you go. Waffle cone making.
And now I'm going to dip some pretzels in chocolate, which is even more fun to do. Because anything that's wholly dipped in chocolate, you just push it in and you push it down and you just have to make sure it's covered. And use this little fork thing to take it out with and shake it off. So it's like going fishing. Oh. And that happens often. And anytime you drop it, you just pull it back out. It just has more chocolate on it. All the better. I'm not doing too well at this today. There you go. Let's try again. It's a real calming process dipping things in chocolate because you just sort of get into the groove and it's real nice. It's like meditating in a way with chocolate. That's all there is to it. Just dip in pretzels and chocolate. The other thing we do with our caramel products, we dip them in chocolate too. One of the best things, one of my favorite things in the store is our apple pie apple, which is a caramel apple dipped in white chocolate. And I don't usually like white chocolate, but this is amazing because it's the caramel apple dipped in white chocolate and sprinkled with cinnamon sugar. It's so good. This one I'm just going to dip in the milk chocolate. So you just sort of put it in, twirl it around, shake it off. It's a simple art, but an art nonetheless. The only thing that we don't dip in chocolate here is people. You need to go to a spa for that. But pretty much everything else. I spend so much time around chocolate that I feel like my mind is steeped in it. You know, some people dream in color, some people dream in black and white. I dream in chocolate now. It's not so bad. So we hope that you have enjoyed your little peek into our process here at Kilwin's. My name is Lisa. And
my name is Marcy, and when you're walking around downtown Asheville, if you catch a waft of just sugar and deliciousness, it's probably coming from here.